everyone, let's break down coding step by step in today's session. So today we're focusing on logical operators and why it's useful for us as programmers. So logical operators are used to put statements with conditions together. There are three of them and we'll look at them today. So logical operators, just before we go into the three of them, we use them as a kind of conjunction between statements to check if something is true or false. If both statements on both sides of the AND keyword is true, then we get true. Now note that both must be true. So both on the left side and on the right side. So let's say we have A equals to 5. We print A greater than 0 and A less than 10. So is 5 greater than 0? Yes. And so if 5 is less than 10, which is true, then we get true. But if 5 was greater than 0, but 5 was not less than 10, then we would get false because both of them are not true. If either statement on either side of the OR keyword is correct, we get true. All we need is just at least one statement to be correct, and we get true. But we can also have both to be true. So let's say, again, we have A equals to 5. If A is greater than 0, or if A is less than 10, then we'll get true. So if 5 was greater than 0, but then not less than 10, we'd still get true. And if both were correct, which in this situation is, we still get true. So OR keyword is a bit more lenient. The NOT keyword gives the exact opposite of the previous answer. And we use brackets around our statements to use the NOT keyword. So what I'm trying to say is, like on the previous slide, we had OR, which gave us true. Now think about that true in the bracket, and then we put NOT around that true. Then we get false. So we get the exact opposite of true, which is false. And then, rather than working out yourself before typing in true, then putting NOT around it, you just put the exact statement into the brackets and then put NOT around it. So NOT turns true to false and false to true. Now that we've learned how to use logical operators and, or, and NOT, including knowledge from our comparison operators in the last video, where e.g. we have 5 lesson 2, now that we have that knowledge, let's do a task to reinforce our learning. So we're working on a school event entry check, which is a scenario we could face when checking for who is allowed to a website or page in an organization. So let's read the task. You are writing a program to decide whether a student is allowed into a school event. Each student has age, so note that these are variables, just a little hint there. Age, we want it in number. And then each student has a variable called has ticket, which asks the user if they have a ticket or not. And if they enter yes or no, then that'll determine true or false. And then is staff works the exact same way as has ticket. And is banned is either true or false. Is banned is true if the user is not between 12 and 18 years of age, if they do not have a ticket, if they're not a staff, and if they're banned. And so they're banned. So banned is true. And the exact opposite for false. So here are the rules. A student is allowed in if they are aged between 12 and 18 and have a ticket, or if they are a member of staff. However, no one is allowed if they're banned, no matter what. So your task is to write one Python condition that uses and, or, and not. It evaluates to true if the student is allowed into the event and evaluates to false otherwise. So here I'm running Python in VS Code, which is my IDE. Now you can be using a different IDE, but if you don't have one or you don't know how to have one, then check out the video that is linked in the description below. So I have the instructions here in a comment, but I have taken out the parts I think I already know and I don't really need. So now let's start with the code. So first of all, I have to ask the user what their age is. So user age is equals to integer impute, because I want it to be a number. So integer impute, how old are you? Okay. And then, so how old are you? And then we want to ask the user if they have a ticket. So think about it as you're at the entrance of, let's say, a party or something, or like an event, and you are the one to check if people are allowed in or not. So you ask them for their age. You want to ask them if they have a ticket. You also want to ask them if they are a member of staff. But you don't want to ask them if they're banned. They'll probably say no because they want to get into the event. So you're going to have to figure that out yourself. So we've asked the user for the age. Ticket is equals to impute. How do you have a ticket? A ticket, right? And then after that, we want to ask the user if they are a member of staff. So staff is equals to impute. Are you a member of staff? Right? So now that we've asked them these questions, how are they going to reply? They could write any character in this world, but how is the computer gonna interpret that as, okay, this is true or this is false? So first of all, let's narrow down what they can write. So let's put yes or no. So the answer was either yes or no to inform the user. So let's do the same thing here. Yes or no. Okay. So after that, I need to let the computer know. If I understand yes, the computer does not understand yes. So we use a bool. We use true or false. So let's use has ticket. Now we always want to guess that they do not have a ticket. So I'm going to say false here. And then I'm going to put a condition to change that false into true if they have a ticket. Because that's what the computer is going to understand. So I'm going to go if ticket, what they've put in, dot lower, which means that whatever they've put, let's say they put yes in capital letters, I want the computer to also be able to interpret as yes in small letters, so I'll always put as lower. So if ticket dot lower is equals to yes, remember from the last video, equals to yes, then I want to have has ticket to now be true because they do have a ticket. They've told me yes, they have a ticket, right? And then we want to do the exact same thing for staff. So we want to always guess that they're not staff, automatically everyone is not a staff except they answer true, except they answer yes. So let's say if staff dot lower, same way to do it, equals to yes, then I want to have staff is equals to true. Oh, is staff, sorry, is equals to true. Okay? And if the conditions are not correct, the computer just goes through them and ignores them. So, and then the is staff remains false if it's not yes, and has ticket remains false if it's not yes. Okay, now let's check if they're banned. So we can see that on the instructions here on this line. Let's check if they're banned. So like the other ones, let's put automatically we say is banned, automatically let's put false to say that people are not banned automatically, except they fulfill these criteria that we're about to write. So it says if they're not between the ages of 12 and 18. So note that 12 and 18 are not included. So if they're not 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, then they're not they're not allowed into the party or into the website or wherever it is. So let's put so you could go different routes, but I'm going to go the routes of where I'm checking if they're banned. So if they're banned, then they're not within the age of 12 and 18. So 12 less than age and age less than 18. So they're not between the ages of 12 and 18. And does not have a ticket. So and has ticket is equals to false. Okay. And as we can see in the instruction, is not a staff. And is staff is equals to false. Then I want to tell them that print. I want to tell them, hey, listen, you are banned and not allowed in. Right? And then I want to have, which is what would have, but let's have this line in another condition, right? So rather than putting this, let's put it as if banned is equals to true, because you are banned if you don't fulfill those criteria. Now, oh, true. Okay. Now let's have if is banned is equals to true, then say what we were going to say before, print you are not allowed in, right? Don't forget your quotes. And then else, if not, so if is banned as false, they are allowed in. We say print you are allowed in. Again, don't forget your quotes. And you can put an exclamation mark here. Now let's just make sure our code is correct. Oh, I see. Oh, so here we have to use the name of the variable here, user age. So let's change that. User age. Okay, our code should be working right now. Okay, let's run it. Okay, so ask me how old am I? Let's say 13. 13 is the minimum age. 13. Do you have a ticket? Because I want us to get a yes this time that we're allowed in, and then we test for not allowed in. So do I have a ticket? Yes. Am I a member of staff? Let's say no. So I am allowed in. Okay. Now let's check if let's use it as not allowed in. Let's change what we put in. Let's say I don't know, 45. Do I have a ticket? Let's say yes first. Am I a member of staff? Let's say no. I am allowed in. Which is actually what we don't want. We don't want people that old to be in this website. So let's change this line of code. So let's back this. Let's change this line of code. So this place should be all. Because if we go back to the instructions, it says, and they have a ticket. So they should be allowed in if they're aged 12 and 18 and have a ticket, not all if they're 12 and 18 and if they're between 12 and 18 or have a ticket. So that means we're going to change this to all over here. And let's just put this around it. Let's put a bracket around here. And now let's try. Let's try the exact same things we put in before. How old are you? Let's say 45. Works now. Do I have a ticket? Yes. No. You are not allowed in. Now our code works. Okay. Now let's try again with different entries. How old are you? I am, let's say, 13, right? And then it asks, oh wait, no. I want to make sure that the stuff works, so I'm going to change it again. So, okay, so let's say I am 45, so I'm of the wrong age to be here. Do I have a ticket? No, I don't have a ticket. But am I a member of staff? Yes, I am a member of staff, so I should be allowed in. And it says I am allowed in. So I hope that we get what the code does and hopefully you got the right results. If not, compared to this code, and don't worry if your code is not exactly like this, but you still get the right results. Don't worry about whether your code is not exactly like this. Why? Because you could go different routes to do this. You could go to check if they're allowed in first, and then if not allowed in, then you could check not allowed in. So you can do it in different, different order, different false or true, or just different ways. And this code is actually in the description down below, and you can always copy or paste it. That's it for today. Share your questions or progress in the comments below.